My story has no end. It's ongoing, it's every day. My story does have a start, though. I was thrust into a situation that would ultimately come to be a part of my life to the present day. This is what I looked like as a middle schooler. A different person, inside and out, completely. But around this time, one of my close friends came to me and told me a secret. For the purpose of our story and for the purpose of confidentiality, I'll be referring to this friend as Max. And I'll be using the pronouns they, them. So Max came to me and told me this secret. And the secret was that they had been suffering from a serious mental illness for a while now. They also told me that no one other than their parents and their psychologist knew this piece of information. Max's secret was considerably different from the rest of the secrets that I was told as a middle schooler. When Max came to me and told me this secret, it was a completely out of the blue situation. I would have never expected it, especially from them being one of my close friends. I, as I'm sure many people here, truly thought and believed that I lived in a bubble that couldn't be touched by things like mental illnesses and suicide. They were things that were so abstract to me. I knew they were real. They were a real thing, and I never doubted that. But they were only found in places that were far, far away from me, in communities that weren't like ours. But here's one of my peers, one of my closest friends, coming to me and telling me that they suffer daily because of these mental illnesses. It's not only affecting them, it's a part of them. It's a part of their identity, and it's something that they wake up every day with. And then them telling me this, I was taken aback because I couldn't comprehend that it could hit so close to me. So for the first couple of days, I observed. I talked to Max about it, I researched, and I would ask myself questions like, is this real? Are they really telling me the truth? Or are they just doing this for attention? But it didn't take long for me to realize that this was as real as it was going to get. And I was presented with a choice. When Max first came to me and told me this piece of information, I didn't know what to do with it. And the first thing I did was I racked my brain, remembering everything I knew about mental illnesses, and the first thing I could remember was, we needed to get them help. We need to talk to a trusted adult. We need to inform the parents. We need to get them to see a therapist. I knew that I needed to get them help. But the thing is, Max was already seeing a therapist. Max's parents already knew, and they were already getting help. So what's my role in this situation? What do I do now? For starters, I was a kid. I was a kid throughout the entire experience. I still am a kid. I was young, and I wasn't empty myself. I had my own emotional baggage, and I'd never even exposed to anything like this. This secret added weight to my shoulders, the weight of mental illnesses and everything that comes with them, because they are considered a taboo in the majority of communities. And here I was, walking in the hallways of school, interacting with students that knew nothing about Max's situation. Even the teachers that I worked with had no idea. This whole situation was just so new. There was just so much uncertainty. I didn't know why this happened, how it happened, or what even happened. I didn't even know how long this would go on for. Was I ready to be there for Max and everything that comes with it? I'm now proud to say that the answer to that question was yes, I was ready. So from the 8th to the end of the 10th grade, I helped Max by being their repository. I like to use the word repository because of its many definitions. So this is the Merriam-Webster definition for a repository. The bottom two highlighted ones are the ones that I associate the most with. One that contains or stores something non-material, like a secret, and a person to whom something is confided or entrusted. So as I previously mentioned, when I first decided to become Max's repository, I was nowhere near prepared for the responsibilities that came with it. So I made the choice to better myself, upgrade myself, if you will. So I researched. I researched things like how to help someone who's having an anxiety attack, what to say to them, what questions to ask, how to make them feel calmer, how to not trigger them, and how to empathize with them, how to put myself in their shoes. And eventually, I'd like to think that I became Max's safe space, a constant, someone who consistently checks on them, someone who already knows everything. They found it easy to come to me and just cry because I knew the backstory. They knew I wouldn't ask any questions. I would just listen if they wanted to talk, and I would hug them if they wanted to feel warm. The entire 2 to 3 years of my experience, I knew that I was doing this. Why? Simply because I loved Max. I loved Max so much. They were my best friend, and it hurt me to see them go through that pain. Every time I had doubts, every time I felt overwhelmed, I would remember how much they meant to me, how upset I would be if anything were to happen to them, how all my efforts were coming from a place of pure care and love, the love that binds us, the love that gives us a reason for what we're doing. And Max put so much effort into reciprocating, into giving back to me. They never told me this, but I know without a doubt that they felt like a burden sometimes, no matter how much I told them they weren't. And no matter how much they needed me at a certain point in time, they never drowned me or clung onto me. They never made me feel trapped or obliged to be their repository, no matter how much I emphasized the fact that I wanted to be the person that they can come to no matter what. Some days, when I don't see Max, I text them to check up on them. I ask them how they're doing, how things have been going. The majority of the time, they respond positively. And they almost always tell me that they're fine. The reality is, there's a very high chance that they are lying to me. They could have just gone through a breakdown. They could have been having a horrible day. But at this point, all I can do is hope that just me checking in, just me texting them and asking them how their day is just enough to remind them that there is someone that's thinking about them, someone that cares, and that they're not alone. During the COVID period of time, Max and I lost touch because of quarantine. We weren't seeing each other anymore. Weeks would go by where we wouldn't have a proper conversation. I wasn't checking on them. I left them alone. Ask me now why this happened, and I don't have an answer for you. I didn't mean to leave Max alone. Quarantine was a hard time for every one of us, and it pains me to imagine what it was like for them. A couple months later, the COVID situation got a little better here, and Max and I had a long catch-up chat in a restaurant in Hamra. That's when they really told me how bad their situation had gotten during quarantine, and how they had even attempted suicide. I felt pain, coming from a place of pure guilt and regret. I felt partially responsible for their struggles because I hadn't checked on them. I'd left them alone. But this whole period of COVID reminded me and reinforced the fact that I was never actually obliged to be there for them. When they first came to me and told me the secret in the 8th grade, I got this ambitious feeling. I got this feeling of emergency. I went through this devoted and passionate thought process. Why? Because I knew that I wanted to be there for them. But what if I hadn't? What if I had decided to remove myself from the situation right from the start? I could have assessed myself and decided to back out. But I didn't feel the real need to. If I had genuinely believed that I couldn't handle a situation with this much uncertainty and ambiguity, and that my doubts were bigger, and that they had a bigger impact on my decision-making, then by all means, backing out would have been the correct decision, because I could have ended up hurting myself and Max. Who knows, if I'd forced myself to become their repository, I might have said something or acted in a way that could put my own mental health in a worse place, and could put Max's emotional well-being also in a worse place. But that wasn't the case. I had doubts, yes. But my will was stronger, and I chose to be there. My side of the story presented me with responsibilities and a little bit of weight on my shoulders. But, believe it or not, it also gifted me countless benefits. Through this secret, Max and I became so much closer because we share experiences that involve the taboo and invulnerable topics of suicide and mental illnesses. Yes, our experiences are from opposite sides of the same story, but we share a unique connection. I have a unique connection with them that I could never replicate with anybody else. Max changed me. They taught me things that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I'm someone who jumps at every opportunity, every chance to learn something new, and this wasn't any different. They taught me what it's like to live with a mental illness, the behind the scenes of a mental illness. They taught me how it's like an obsession, how there's a second person in your head, how it feels like they're talking to you, how they get uncomfortable in some situations, they feel stuck, how the smallest things can trigger them, yet the smallest gestures and smallest acts of kindness can relieve them. Through our trials, through my trials and errors, and through their feedback and guidance, I now know how to talk to them and what to say, for the most part. I can't imagine what my life would be like if I hadn't decided right from the start. If I had backed out, I'm proud of my decision for choosing to be there, because if I had backed out, I probably wouldn't have Max as a friend like I do now. They have a strong sense of empathy, and they give the best hugs. It's so easy to talk to them. I love them so much. I am so thankful for every part of our friendship. I would never replace it. I consider this experience to be a gift, because you came into my life and I came into yours, right place at the right time. It's this idea of serendipity that everyone always talks about. So yes, this experience can be considered a gift. It still is a gift. It's a gift that keeps giving. Thank you.